we're going to Tampa, Florida, and we're going to welcome in Peter Capote. Peter.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Peter, thank you for calling in. It's good to speak to you again. Tell us what you've seen down in Yankee spring training, if you can. Maybe explain a little bit when you go down there, the different type of venues that they have. You mentioned Himes. Tell us, our viewers, what exactly that is.
Well, as a matter of fact, I just got back from Himes, as a matter of fact. I went to go see my buddy Domingo Herman pitch today. He looked great. He'll probably be going to Double-A, I'm thinking. He was pitching 95, 96 with a fastball. Put it in the curveball real nicely over there. So he pitched 4 2/3. He looked really good. A couple of days ago, I went and I saw my buddy Domingo Acevedo. He also looked good. He threw 4 innings, throwing 96, 97 on the gun. Had everything working. He also looked good. And then I also had Jeffrey Ramirez a couple of days ago that also went to see pitch, and he also looked good. So there's a lot of talent out there in Himes. I mean, usually Himes is where if you get invited to spring training with the big boys, they'll send you down and they'll send you to Himes. Right now, you go to Himes, you'll see Clint Frazier. You'll see Gleyber Torrens over there, as a matter of fact. A lot of the Aaron Judge is still with the big leaguers. And then sometimes you'll see some big leaguers play over there if they're not playing in the spring training games. Like today, Gary Sanchez was over there. Dallin Betances was throwing over there. Tyler Clippard was throwing over there. So there were some big leaguers over there throwing over there.
Nice. Now, when we see you on Twitter, you have a lot of pictures that you throw out on your Twitter feed with a lot of these players that you're mentioning. How do you become friendly with them? And, just explain if you can.
Well, a lot of these guys are Hispanic, and I meet them through other guys. Like I met Gary Sanchez through Acevedo. I met Severino through Mateo. And I just met the other guys little by little, getting to know other guys. And that's how I meet all of them. And I'm friends with a lot of these guys. Yeah.
One that I saw in person, Domingo Acevedo. And Peter, I saw him at the Staten Island Yankees. Very tall. He's about 6'7". It's amazing how hard he throws. He could throw 103, 104 miles an hour. If I'm not
102 last year. Yeah.
Wow.
He throws very hard. Yeah.
Wow. And tell us about his secondary pitches. I mean, just give us a little bit of an idea about Acevedo, where he is in the development.
Well, I mean, he's got that slider. He's still working that slider. He's got the slider and the changeup and the fastball, of course. He's learning to use that slider. He's worked really hard this season in Miami. He worked with big leaguers, as a matter of fact. He worked with Francisco Liriano. He worked with Henderson Alvarez, over there, up in Miami. So he's worked really hard this year. So I'm expecting him to move up the rankings. As long as he stays healthy, he'll move up real quick.
Now, Peter, when you look at him, when I look at him, well, first of all, he reminded me a lot when I saw him in person. I saw him throwing a side session, and from a distance, I thought it was Michael Pineda because he's got Go ahead.
That's what everybody says, exactly.
Okay.
And, as a matter of fact, today he was pitching, and he tells me, hey, hold on a second. I'm going to go see, I'm going to be right behind Michael Pineda because everybody says I look like it. So he went to go check them on pitch today, and I was talking to him. I was laughing. I was chuckling at that.
Yeah, it's true. So I'm not alone with that. I'm looking from a distance. I'm saying, what is Michael Pineda doing with the Staten Island Yankees? Did he get hurt?
Hey.
I mean, like this. And as I walk up closer and closer, I saw how hard he throws. He's big. He's about 6'7". So again, he physically reminds you a lot of Pineda. But I want to talk about him and compare him to someone different, and that's Dellin Betances. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to ask your opinion of.
Let me guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because a lot of people saying that he could be a closer instead of a starter. That's what everybody's talking about him because of his height and all this other stuff.
Well, yeah.
To me, I've told him.
Go ahead.
To me, I've told him, and I've told him before because that's a really, really close friend of mine. I've told him that it doesn't matter if you're a starter or reliever. As long as you make it to the big leagues, that's all that matters. But he sees himself as a starter, is what he told me.
Right. Okay.
So we'll see what happens later down the road. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Because the only reason why I'm saying it is because Dellin Betances was a local kid. I knew coaches, local coaches that coached for and against Betances. And I remember a coach from a Brooklyn team telling me when Betances was struggling, he was one of the 3 killer bees that we were trying to bring along with Benuelos, et cetera, and Brackman.
Exactly.
And basically what it was that he just could not get his control where it needed to be. And again, he's 6'8". And what they did is once they shifted him, once they had him throwing from the set position exclusively, it simplified everything. Everything clicked, and he became the dominant bullpen arm that we know now. That's why I'm going to ask you a key question. Can Acevedo, who's 6'7", there's a lot of moving parts to someone that tall with a pitching delivery, taking a full windup. Do you think that he can refine his full wind-up enough where he can be a starting pitcher, or do you see it possibly being somewhere where you put him in the set position, bring him out of the pen, and you can fast-track him to the Bronx?
I think, like I said, I think he can do either or. He's up in Miami. He was working with the great Duque with his mechanics. So, that tells you something. Duque's been showing him how to correct, he wanted to correct all his flaws that he had. And he's coming ready for this season to hit it hard. Everybody will soon be able to know who he is, and he'll be going to move up the charts real quick as long as he stays healthy, like I said.
You know what? You mentioned the name El Duque. Wow.
Yes. Exactly.
When you think back, 98, when he exploded onto the scene, and here's a guy that every pitcher, young pitcher, should run over to and try and pick his brain, but especially the Latino pitchers. Let me ask you a question, Peter. Do enough of them go over to him and try and pick his brain?
Yeah, some of them do. I see some of them go typically, the whole Hispanic culture. So they'll go to him, and I see him because he's over there at Himes, and he'll pick his brain a little bit. But at least Severino got his own one-on-one up in Miami, and he was able to help him out one-on-one over there. So, a lot of them benefit from him.
You know what I recall? Obviously, the leg kick, that dramatic leg kick that he had.
Oh, yeah.
El Duque.
Yep.
But the other thing that I remember also is when he got into a pressurized situation, what he would do is he would take the approach less is more. Instead of trying to muscle up the fastball and throw, instead of 93, 94, he would throw his slow curve even slower, and he'd have guys jumping out of their shoes. I wish some of these young guys, like a Severino and others, would understand that sometimes less is more. Agree?
Yeah, that's true. Like for instance, Severino. Severino's a great pitcher, has a talent, but he needs to know one thing, and I've told him about it. He needs to know about consistency. He needs to do that over and over again, that's what makes it hard up in the big leagues. But that's something you have to work on. Consistency and patience is what you have to work on when you're in the big leagues, working on those pitches in and out.
I'll compare two prospects, and they're both outfielders and completely different ball players. And maybe you could give me some insight that you see them up close and personal. I want you to compare Clint Frazier and Blake Rutherford. Clint Frazier plays like his hair is on fire. He will literally run through a brick wall. And you need that passion. You like to see a couple of guys on the team that with the uniform dirty all the time and all of that. But I'm really excited about Blake Rutherford because he's a California kid. He's probably a little bit laid back, and he's got a very smooth swing. Tell me about that.
Well, I've seen them both play. It's two totally different players. Blake Rutherford's a little bit lower in the system right now, but Blake Rutherford, if he can hit, he can rake. Clint Frazier's a little bit different. Like I say, he gets dirty, he plays hard, he goes through walls, and he's very chiseled, different type of build, and he also hits the ball hard. He has one of the hardest swings, biting swings that you can see a guy when he swings the bat.
You know what I like about Clint Frazier? He was at a hitting complex, with just hitting at a like an indoor, kind of batting range, if you want to call it that. But behind the machine, they had a simulation of Yankee Stadium. And what he was doing was he was shooting the ball to the opposite field. This kid is smart enough to know that he doesn't even have to hit it good to hit it out. Opposite field, in right field. And you know what? I see a lot of Yankee hitters doing that. I have a website. I wrote a column called Opposites Attract. It attracts my eye. And Matt Holliday is doing it, and a lot of the young kids are doing it. Aaron Judge is doing it more. Gary Sanchez is doing it more. And I saw Clint Frazier doing it. And we also saw Gleyber Torres. I saw him get buzzed by Justin Wilson, get thrown at, up and in.
Oh, wow.
And on the next pitch, down and away, Gleyber Torres dove over the plate and hit it to the opposite field for a home run. That showed me a lot. And I see a lot of right-handed batters doing that. And so I'm very, very excited about the approach that a lot of these hitters are taking. Anybody that we haven't mentioned yet that you would say, Peter, that you saw and said keep an eye on?
Well, there's a couple of prospects that we got back from the Brian McCann trade. Their name is Abreu and Guzman. They throw really, but really hard. They're like 102 to 97. Those are like two guys you should keep an eye on moving up in the system. A lot of guys talk about Dustin Fowler. He's very underrated, but he's a great, great hitter. So that's another guy you need to keep in contact. Tyro Estrada, another one. He had a couple big league home runs with the big league team. He's
Right.
another guy. He hits.
Yeah.
Avelino's another one. He's got a great glove. He doesn't get very mentioned, the lack of all the other prospects.
Yeah.
Those are guys that I think everybody should get to know a little bit about.
Great. Peter, it's always great chatting with you. You bring a lot to the table. Love the passion, love the insight. I want to thank you, and I look forward to speaking to you again where you can call into the show.
All right, no problem. Well, you have a nice day, and thanks for having me. And for all the Yankee fans, just have a lot of patience.
You got it.
Like I always say. All right, have a good day.
Peter Capote, everyone. Thank you, Peter.
All right, no problem. Bye-bye.
Okay.